President Trump's bond in the New York cases have been reduced. You know, you've heard the stories. It was $500 million he was going to have to get, and whether they were going to start seizing assets and what was going to be breaking from that. Now we know, Will, the bond has been reduced to $175 million as he waits on appeal.
That's right. So President Trump had appealed to this appeals court, trying to get them to reduce the bond amount that he'd have to put up. And because this would cover the $454 million civil fraud verdict that was handed down earlier this year. And what this is now, because that verdict, to put up a bond, it would have to be in the amount of 120%. So the bond he would have had to acquire would have been $545 million. We were all expecting today, because he was unable to secure the bonds. He told that to the appeals court in the filing that he filed last week, that he was unable to secure these bonds. So we expected today Letitia James to start seizing assets. But now, just before everyone expected these properties to start getting judgments against them,
within hours.
Right. Now, the appeals court hands down, lowering the amount for a bond that he would have to put up from $545 million down to $175 million, and gives him 10 days to do it. So it kicks the can down the road for Letitia James. She can't start seizing assets right now today.
Buildings, properties, everything could be started to be seized.
Everything seemed to be on the table at this point, where we expected to see judgments starting to be issued in other counties as well, because while the original judgment happened in New York City, but they were going to be going after properties that were in other counties, like Westchester County. There was the Silver Spring Resort. Yeah, where they were going to be going after as well, not resort, but club and estate. They were going to be going after that. We already knew that a judgment had been entered last week, and so that was kind of forecasting to a local judge there that this was coming. But now all of that's on hold. And the rebuttal that we're seeing from the New York Attorney General is that, well, the judgment still stands. That hasn't been overturned. Don't worry, I'm still going after President Trump. But in reality, her ability to make a big splash and be all over the news, which that's exactly what she's wanted from the beginning. When she ran for Attorney General of New York to do this, is that she wanted to get Trump. And now we're seeing that one of her mechanisms, which is to embarrass Donald Trump by taking his properties and seizing Trump Tower and all these estates, is at least for 10 days on hold, and a much more manageable number for the former president to put up as bond.
That's right. A number that's not reasonable for any of us.
Right. But caveat that, please.
Now, a lot of people are commenting, well, it's still unfair. It's still unfair. It's still unfair. And I said I wasn't sure how President Trump was going to take this. What was he going to say? He actually made a statement. I think we should replay it. If you heard it already, sorry. A lot of you are just joining us right now. He is taking this as a win. Letitia James says this is not a win. This is just a delay. And he's going to have to pay more now with interest, yada, yada, yada. But here is what President Trump had to say. Let's listen.
Thank you very much. Judge Engoron has done a terrible disservice to the state of New York. What he's done is terrible. Businesses are fleeing, and you see that. We just released a statement on Truth. Businesses are fleeing, and crime is flourishing all over the state, and what he's done is such a disservice and should never be allowed to happen again. New York State is being battered by his decision. So I greatly respect the decision of the appellate division, and I'll post either $175 million in cash or bonds or security or whatever is necessary very quickly within the 10 days. And I thank the appellate division for acting quickly. But Judge Engoron is a disgrace to this country, and this should not be allowed to happen. Thank you very much.
I mean, talk about taking it as a win. And also, I'll be honest, you can hear great relief in this man's voice in a way that I don't think I've heard in a very long time. I mean, the fact that he said, I greatly respect the decision of the appellate division, maybe something I've never thought I would hear from President Trump, saying anything in the fact where he starts praising people, but says, I greatly appreciate the decision of the appellate division, and I'll post either $175 million in cash or bonds or whatever is necessary, and very quickly within the 10 days. So at least for a moment, and potentially for a pretty extended amount of time, that is at least putting a bow on that issue.
Right.
That was going to potentially be a huge, huge problem, not only for President Trump and his campaign, but also, honestly, a little bit of a weight to carry around for the Biden campaign, to know that there were people out there, politically motivated people, presumably felt like it, seizing properties and doing these things. Hopefully that puts a pause on that. Let's take a call. Let's go to Susan in the state of Kentucky, line 1. Susan, you're on the air.
Yes, it sounds like New York State, besides wanting to bankrupt Trump, is very hungry for that victimless judgment money to use towards paying for all the illegal aliens that they've got there in their sanctuary cities.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's a way to put it. There is certainly that crisis is happening. We're hearing that from everyone. You know, we were at a comedy show on Tuesday night and with a comedian from New York who used to be on SNL. And he spent a good chunk of his time talking about, and it was sort of a mix between a TED Talk and a comedy show, talking about the homeless situation in New York. And you know, they're making light of it, but it's obviously so real and it's happening. And the homeless situation, some of it is also because of the city becoming overrun with either what you would consider refugees or people that are there because these cities have become what they are.
Well, and it's a symptom of the problem with those in control of New York, not just New York City, but this is the state attorney general. This isn't just New York City. This is for all of the state of New York. So what you're seeing is them not being able to take care of people within their own cities because they're hyper-focused on going after a former president for a crime that by all means did not exist and doesn't exist in most states. If there's not a victim, and most states don't have this statute where you can just say, we still think you're fraudulent. We still think there's a victim. We still think you defrauded people. There is no one that's getting this except the state. The state gets all the money, so we're the beneficiaries. We're the victim here. It's the ultimate victim complex is where the state's like, we didn't like you and we didn't like what you did, so we're offended by it, and therefore you owe us $500 million. Like that is the most, that is woke politics to the nth degree. Like that is as far as you can go.
I guarantee you there are Democratic strategists who are breathing a sigh of relief right now because they know this could be the biggest backfire in the history of their campaign. Because again, as it's said before, if they'll do it to him, they'll do it to anybody else. But this is to an extreme level. Again, you can't say it's a pure win. You can go back to what Letitia James had to say in her statement, saying essentially, here's what she said, so you guys know, because the thousands of you that are brand new watching. Donald Trump is still facing accountability for his staggering fraud. Again, this is Letitia James, not me. The court has already found that he has engaged in years of fraud to falsify, inflate his net worth, and unjustly enrich himself, his organization, his family. The $464 million judgment plus interest against Donald Trump and the other defendants still stands. So now you've heard from both sides. You heard from President Trump saying, I win. You heard from Letitia James saying, not so fast. The case continues. It moves on. But what this certainly does is wrap up just a huge problem that was going to be happening for the country. Breathe a sigh of relief if you're the Trump campaign. Breathe a sigh of relief if you're a Democrat who wants Joe Biden to win. I'm not necessarily for you. But you know what? I think this could have been, as Frank Lutz said, the biggest backfire in the history of American politics.